Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we're talking about a ship that I frankly was wrong about in my first impressions review of her, and that is the Tier 8 Premium American Aircraft Carrier Hornet. In that review, I gave her an unfavorable review, citing that her planes are very fragile, her AP bombers are very anemic, her torpedo bombers, while they are more potent than her AP bombers, and you will be relying on them more often than not, they are still very frail. And then her tactical bombers, the B-25s, while they are nice that they did give the Hornet her B-25s, they are only available every 2 minutes and change, and they are a source of good, consistent damage, but overall, I didn't like the Hornet very much in that first impressions review. Now, I did play the Hornet in that first impressions review more than I normally play ships for a first impressions. Normally I'll play a ship for about 2 to 3 hours, and normally in that time you get a pretty good feeling for a ship, especially if you're someone that's been playing this game for quite some time. But it turns out that that wasn't enough time with the Hornet. I continued to play her after that video. I slacked off playing her until I managed to pick her up again recently. I've been playing her a little bit more, and I gotta say, now that I've had more time with the Hornet, she is actually a pretty darn good CV. Now, a lot of what I said in that first impressions video does still hold true about how the way her planes behave and such, but once you sit down and play her a little bit more and get some more matches under your belt and get used to the planes, get used to their quirks and such, you get better at utilizing them. Now, what also didn't really help is I went back and I looked at the matches I had for that first impressions review, and I played, God, I think I played like 15 matches in the Hornet, and I went back, looked at the screenshots, and most of them were Tier 10 games. I think I had 12 Tier 10 games in the Hornet, and yeah, no, that's not gonna... the Hornet, as good as I think she is now, she is not a great CV to be up tiered in, because the planes, they are very frail. The torpedo planes and the AP planes are... I think they're around Tier 6 planes actually, but they've been up tiered to Tier 8 with the Hornet, and they were tweaked a little bit. And you do get a large amount of them, which I do like. I do think that's a very neat feature about the ship. If you've noticed the planes on screen, you get very large squadrons, and you get 2 attacking flights per squadron with the torpedo bombers and the AP bombers. It's kind of like a mix between the Soviet CVs, where you just have, you know, large flights that all attack at once. You get 4 planes per attacking flight and 8 planes in a squadron for both the torpedo bombers and the bombers, the AP bombers. So when you do attack, you attack with a large amount of ordnance, but you still potentially, if you feel like it, have a follow-up squadron. And I think it's a pretty neat mechanic, because most CV players, again, unless they're attacking a ship that has very little AA, they really only attack with 1 squadron at a time, because the more you stick around, the more planes you're going to lose, and by the time you attack the target the first time, and by the time your planes fly off and then you circle back around, you probably already lost another plane or 2. And of course, you know, that's something you can't really afford to do in a CV, so you need to utilize your planes as best you can, and oftentimes against just dropping 1 squadron then bugging out. In most series, unless it's, you know, something like the FDR or the Hornet here, have the speed to get back to the target on time. And yes, the planes are quite slow. All the planes are slow on the Hornet. The torpedo bombers, the AP bombers, the tactical planes are incredibly slow. But it's made up for by the large squadron size and the amount of ordnance that these planes do drop, because once you get to the target, yes, it will take you a minute to get there, but once you get there, you are dropping, you know, 4 torpedoes per run and 4 bombs per run as well. And, you know, that does add up especially well at Tier 8. Now, the dive bombers, well, they're not even dive bombers, they actually glide bomb, which is in the first place. But second off, the bomb is a relatively small bomb, so it doesn't really have the overmatching capabilities that it needs to just go straight through the superstructure and into the citadel of most targets. especially when it comes to battleships, most of the time they're just going to hit the superstructure, put on the superstructure, and then that's it. And, you know, as all of you that play CV know, when you just hit the superstructure, you don't actually pin the ship and pin the citadel, you're doing pretty negligible damage with those bombs. What also is very weird is that even if you go after cruisers with the AP bombs, they also have a very long fuse time. So, despite not being able to overmatch most superstructures or get through the superstructure of most ships, they have a very long fuse time, so that once they do hit a target that they can't easily go through the superstructure, they're probably going to overpin. Which is just weird. It's such a weird combination. So it winds up to where you can only really citadel, from my experience, you know, tier 8 CVs with these bombs, or very, very chunky cruisers like the British heavy cruisers or the German heavy cruisers. It's so weird with these bombs. But yes, the bombs are not a source of good, consistent damage. That's going to be your torpedo bombers and the B-25s. So speaking about the B-25s, they're available every 162 seconds, and these things absolutely rock. They are great, they are fantastic, they are definitely the highlight of the ship. They're slow, like everything else, but once they get to their target, first off, the reticle's great. It's just a circle. It's kind of like how the, not the Graf Zeppelin, how the Graf Zeppelin's, dive bomber circle is just a circle, and you used to be able to just pretty much approach it from any angle. You don't have to really worry about it because it's a circle. Same thing here with the B-25s. With the B-25s, you'll be very easily doing at least like 10 to 12k a run on your target, and you'll probably be setting a fire or two with the B-25s. The B-25s, they drop 4 bombs per each plane, and you get a total of 6 planes. So you're dropping 20 bombs. These bombs do a maximum damage of 7,300. They have 42 millimeters of armor pin, which at tier 8 is great. And then they cause, well, they have a 43% chance of causing a fire per bomb, times 20 bombs. So you're going to be setting fires with these bombers. It's fantastic. And especially if you can find like a British battleship or anything, you know, British or anything with a chunky superstructure like the Germans or some of the a lot of the American battleships around tier 8. Anything with a lot of superstructure, you go after with these bombers, and you're going to be easily getting, again, easily 10 to 12k. I don't think it was in this match you're watching right now, which is a very good match, by the way. But I think in the match before this, I hit a, I think it was a Lion for like 18k with these bombs, with these bombers. It's great. But again, these are only available every 162 seconds. However, what's also nice about these B-25s is that these are the tactical squadrons. They're not like the bombers and the torpedo bombers, that you have a set amount of them at the start, and then you have to wait for them to regen over time, like the torpedo bombers and the bombers. I keep on calling them dive bombers, but they're not. The glide bombers. They regenerate 1 unit every 56 seconds. And of course, you know, that's how other CVs work, and that can get whittled down over time based upon how you play your match and such. But the B-25s, just every 162 seconds, you get 6 of them. And it doesn't matter if you lose all 6 in the bombing run, which you probably won't, because these B-25s are quite hardy if you can't tell by the giant health bar down at the bottom of the screen. But it doesn't matter. You could lose 1, you could lose 5 of them, you could lose none of them. Every 162 seconds, you get 6 more of them, which is very, very good for newer CV players or players that aren't that familiar with CVs, because, you know, you can lose your bombers, you can lose your torpedo bombers, but those B-25s are always going to be there once that timer runs down. Now, of course, it does mean, too, that if you don't lose any of them in the flight, you don't get them back right away. That would be fairly busted if you did have that ability with the B-25s on the Hornet. So, the Hornet is a fantastic carrier. It is, well, when it's top tier, it's fantastic. Even when it's mid tier, it's fantastic. But it's so highly dependent upon what the enemy team has on it in terms of AA, because, you know, if you get in the match, like, I was unlucky enough the match before this, the ships on the enemy team consisted of a Kid, a Felix Schultz, a Holland, a Minotaur, a Wooster, and I think they had even like a San Diego. At that point, it's like, well, guess I'm just going to be relegated to spotting duties this round. But yes, when this ship is top tier, even when it's mid tier, it's a great ship. Even when it's in tier 10 games, again, just depending upon what ships are on the enemy team, you'll be plenty fine with the Hornet here. Again, those B-25s do put in a lot of work. They're very easy to get good, consistent damage out of, along with the torpedo bombers. The torpedo bombers are very good. They have a very short arming distance. They have a nice dispersion pattern. The reticle is very nice too. They get the heal, and they are a little bit frail, but I mean, again, with as many as you're throwing at the enemy team, or at the enemy ship, you'll get enough through that you'll get good, consistent damage, especially if you build into the torpedo bombers, which is something that I would definitely suggest you do. So guys, that's my atonement for being incorrect about the Hornet. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you have this ship. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday. We'll be live streaming right here on the channel and Twitch tonight around 5 p.m. U.S. Central Time, so please come out for that. We will be doing community divs for the last hour of the stream. That's where you and I div up, and we have some matches together. Anyway, guys, hope you have a wonderful Friday, wonderful weekend. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.